What's up, everybody? So today was 26th November 2025. Today was Wednesday, and as usual, I traded the pre-learner and the learner session. So what happened was basically, I'm gonna explain you my analysis. So this was there was a quite uptrend in the Asian session. Price came back, formed a support over here. Uptrend support formed, and then what happened was I marked a support zone over here, just right over here, and at this point I was just waiting for the price to either break above this resistance or just break below this zone, because if price breaks below this zone, then there's clean range for me to push down. So what happened was that I sat at this candle when this candle was forming, and I was waiting for this candle to either break below this zone. But what happened was that it closed inside the zone. Then I was just waiting for one more M30 candle to form, and this M30 candle formed. It formed bearish, and it went down a lot. It went around how many pips down, bro? It went around 110 pips down. So at this point, this was I would not execute a sell over here, because that was not a rational decision. Because just if you just see, the stop loss would be right over here. 110 pip stop loss does not make any sense. So I did not sell over here. And plus there was on M15, there was a support over here, and as you guys can see that on M30 it rejected this support. So there was no sells for me at this point. But then what happened was that the next candle over here, it closed bullish, and it was on the M30 time frame. So now at this point I shifted my bias, and at this point I then I then saw that there was a downtrend over here. It made a support, and there's clean range for the price to move up. So then I executed a buy right over here. I executed a buy right over here with a stop loss just beneath this low, and then I have a screen recording of the trade which I took. It was right over here on my MT5. I placed a buy. This is the M15 time frame. I placed a buy, and this is the M30. Right just after the closure of this candle, I placed a buy over here, and price started to just move in profits. As soon as the price started to move in profits, I trailed my stop loss from here to this low, because if price has to move up, it has no business to come back down and break its low. Just this is just basic formation of candles. So it also broke the previous high, so it was a good confirmation, and trade was running. So at this point I was around 25 pips and running at around $60. And at this point all I was thinking was that I'm not gonna lose on this trade, because if once you have seen profits, then you should not lose on that trade, then you're a bitch. If you're losing on a trade which was a winning trade at one point, and you're losing on that trade, then you're a bitch. Because I have learned this lesson from my previous trades, the second last video which I uploaded, that I was running up around $150 in profits, and that ended up being a loser. That trade ended up being a loser for me. So because of that trade, I realized that no, if I am running in profits, then I just need to close. I There's no sense for me to lose on that trade. I would rather just exit out at break even. So at this point, the candle was retracing, and it was not going as I planned it to go. So I was just extending my TPs, and at this point, all I was thinking was to just close this trade if it retraces back to my entry. That was my only plan at this point, right at this point. So I was just waiting, and then what happened was that what did I do? I just yeah, at this point I just trailed my stop loss from the low of that candle to my entry, just to make this trade risk free, and just to make this trade break even. Because if price is retracing back to my entry, just visualize the formation of this candle. Then if it is retracing back to my entry, if it's retracing back to my entry, then this whole thing would be a wick. and this big wick would be called a rejection, a exhaustion wick. And if that is a wick being formed, then that's just a liquidity grab. Then there is no sense for me to move up. There's no logical, rational reasoning for the price to move up. So if you just need to act, you just need to act on your trades as what you're as the information you're getting. If you're seeing something that is not going against, that's going against you, you just need to perceive that information and act rationally. That is it. That is it. There's absolutely nothing more you can do, and turn profitable. You just need to basically act rationally. That is it. So at this point, I moved my stop loss to break even, and I was just waiting for this shit to move up. But at this point, the only concerning thing for me was that there was a resistance on M15, as you guys can see over here. As you guys can see over here, uh, where is that resistance? Let me just, yeah, there was a resistance right over here. So at this point, I was thinking two things. I was thinking that whether I should exit 50% on this resistance, or I should trust the London session volume and just trust the London session volume and wait for the price to hit and smash all my TPs, because there's clean range on M30. There's clean range. There's no obstacle on M30, but there's an obstacle on M15. So this was what I was thinking at this point. And if you just fast forward it a bit, I did not close anything. I did not book partials at this point. I was just waiting for this trade to just run. And at this point, it started to move. I was like up 52 pips at this point. I was up around $130. And at this point, this candle, this went to this current candle was approaching a resistance on M15, and I was just seeing, monitoring how is the price reacting to that resistance. If it is not reacting the way I want it to react, I would either close 50%, or I would just trail my stop loss more. But at this point, the volume started to kick in, and at this point, the price was breaking the resistance. It was breaking the high on the previous M30 candle on at this point. So at this point, that was a confirmation for me to just let this trade run. I did not close anything right here at this point, and I was just letting it run, because if you just see, it has broken the high of this M30 candle, and then there's clean in for the price to move up. So then I was like, good, this is gonna smash my TP. Just wait and just relax a bit. So what happened? It started going up, and then this M30 candle closed. I trailed my stop loss more. At this point, my worst case scenario was that I would make around $66. That was my worst case scenario. But what was the best case scenario? The best case scenario was that I would make around $300. So yeah, I just acted rationally. And over here, as you guys can see, that as soon as this M30 candle closed, it was rejecting a bit. That was a bit concerning, but did not do anything. I was just waiting. And at this point, this M30 candle had closed. Now what I was thinking, I was looking for this candle to form a low so that I can trail my stop loss to that low. Because if a candle has formed its low, then there's no business for that candle to go again and break that low if it needs to go up. It just needs to go up directly. At this point, it was around 30 seconds as this candle was forming. So at this point, this low, I didn't trust this low. I was waiting for at least 2-3 minutes of this candle to be formed. And I was, because see, if the candle goes is and it makes a low in the first 10 seconds, and this was not a good low as well. This was not a good low, so I was waiting for a good low to be formed so that I can trail my stop loss to that level. If I would have trailed my stop loss to this level, I would have exited at out at I would have just have exited. So I was waiting for a good wick to be formed, a good lower wick to be formed, and this was the wick which was forming. And now this candle was like up. This candle was 3 minutes old. So I was just like, now this wick was good. So then I trailed my stop loss to this wick, as you guys can see over here. Here I'm gonna trail this stop loss to this wick. Yeah, and now at this point, my worst case scenario is that I'm gonna make around $112. That's my worst case scenario. Well, what's my best case scenario? My best case scenario is that I'm gonna make around $300. So this was all, which was I was just managing my trade. So this is really important. The second last video which I made, I did not manage my trade properly. If I would have managed that trade properly, I would not have lost 36 bucks. I would have exited out at break even. So that was a lesson which I was carrying forward, and uh, I was just managing my trade rationally. Now at this point, I was just waiting for my worst case scenario was that I would lose $111, and my best case scenario was that I would smash this TP. One thing which was bad in this trade that was that I had placed my TP over here. I should have placed it all the way up to this level because this was a clean win. Why the hell did I not place this TP at this point? That was a bit bad. Yeah, that was a bit bad. I was like, no, I should not place it all the way to that level, but that was bad. So I should have placed it somewhere over here. Now, if you guys see, this candle London session just opened and volume started to kick in, and it went up. It broke this high. It broke this high, and it went and it broke this its high, and it started to go up. Just see this candle. It's starting to break the high of the previous candle, and it is going up. This is such a beautiful moment, man. Just seeing this trade, it started to break this high. Volume has started to kick in. London session has opened, and it just smashed my TP. Yeah, just go, push, push, push. Yeah, it smashed my TP over here. One thing which was bad was that I placed my TP over here. I should have placed it all the way over here, because that was this TP was not logical. It should have the logic was to place this TP all the way up over here. So now I made around how much money today? So I made around $290 on this trade. My risk was around $36, and then eventually it became breaking when I entered here. I exited somewhere over here. I should have placed it over here. That's what I'm saying, because this was the resistance, right? Why the hell did I place it over here? Because if price is moving with volume, then there's no sense for the price to just stop here out of nowhere. It should definitely go over here and then um, get rejected from that resistance. So I made around $290 on this trade today, which was good. And I am on the verge of clearing my phase one of this funding account. I am up around 77.5%, and it's just 0.5% which is remaining, and I'm gonna hopefully clear it tomorrow, and then I'm gonna clear this phase one, man. This looks so good. This looks so good. This looks so much better. Yeah. This whole week I did not trade. This was the trade, the second last trade which I took, where I was up around $150 at one point, and then I lost around $36 on this trade. Then I had fever, I had flu, and I then just separated myself from the charts because I was said no, if I'm not in the right mental space, I should not trade. And during this week there were not such good setups as well, so that was a good decision to not trade. This was yesterday. I lost around $96, and this is today. I made around $290, which is really good. I made around four, five. I made around 6% on this trade by just risking $36. So you know what? This is the key. If you see my MT5 statement, if you just see my MT5 statement, uh, bro, what happened? If you just see my MT5 statement right over here, so I was losing. I lost $7. I lost $51. I lost $43, and then out of nowhere, I made $300. So the key is to keep your losses short and make your winners run. Like, just let your winners run. That is key. If you are losing more and you are winning less, then you are not never gonna come out of from that break-even stage. In order to come out from that break-even stage, you need to cut your losses smaller. So that's what I did, up around 7.5%. After 0.5%, I'm gonna get my first certificate of my life, man. Congratulations, you have passed your phase one. That's gonna be so good. I started to trade this account on 3rd November. Today is 26th November. I almost took 1 month to like clear this account. You know what? In the second week after being on two winning streaks, there was a trade which was really good. I did not, and I was at the charts at that time, but somehow my intuition didn't allow me to take that trade, and that ended up smashing all my TPs, all my visual TPs, which were in my mind, but I didn't take that trade. So I was a bit disappointed from myself at that time, and then like things were going south, and then mental was also going south. As I uploaded the last video, I was saying bad mental health, but then now things are looking good, and now I'm gonna pass this phase one and eventually pass phase two as well, and then secure my first payout of my life, bro. How many pips did I capture today? I captured around, see, you just see, my stop loss was around 4156. Where was my entry? Open was my entry was 4152. Stop loss was around 40 pips, and then I traded back to 20 pips, and then I traded back to break even. So yeah, and this was how many, I opened it around 4152, closed it around 4163. So 110 pips were captured today. It's really good. See, after having so many reds, I'm still profitable on this account, which means that you just need to keep your winners. You just need to let your winners run and cut your losers short. So yeah, man, this was the trade for the day. 26th November 2025, done for the day, and tomorrow I'm gonna pass this account. I just need to like uh make 0.5% more on this account. Then I'm gonna pass phase one. Hopefully I'm gonna get a certificate of phase one, and then I'm gonna move to phase two, and then I'm gonna pass phase two in one trade as well. So then we'll just move to our master account on this funding whips. You know what? The real flex. You know what's the real flex right on? What's the real flex right now? Is that I'm not even 18. This account is on my mother's name, bro. My mom's name is Raila. This account is on her name. And if I'm gonna get a certificate tomorrow, it's gonna be on her name. My mom is a trader and she doesn't even know. Bro, wow. So I'm just 17 right now. I cannot even make an account on funding pips. So that's the real flex. Passing your first funding challenge before you are 18. That's the real flex, man. Okay, so I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. If I take a trade tomorrow, and then hopefully we're gonna pass the phase one tomorrow. Done for the day, and I'm gonna now go to study because I'm not studying, man. You know what? The high you get after getting a good trade, and then that high keeps you not. That high is so good that you're just like in an other mental space, and then you just don't feel like studying. You just don't feel like doing something which is so boring. So okay, I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye. Done for the day.